Nau mai, haere mai. Welcome to our wānanga today. We've got some great stuff to share with you this afternoon now. So today's wānanga is all about starting from scratch, beginning from the beginning to create your own GIS on your local desktop for Hapū, for environmental projects, you name it, you'll be able to use this the system for all kinds of activities. So what I'm going to do is I'll just share my screen. So what I'll be sharing with you today is step by step, downloading some software, downloading some data, setting it all up and getting ready to use it, and then how you can use it as well. So if you have some pārtai, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll go for maybe about 3/4 an hour, go through, and I'll attempt to keep an eye on the chat. But if any of my Toitu Te Whenua colleagues see anything that I miss on the chat, feel free to jump in there and let me know. So what are we going to do? First thing, what I'm going to suggest to you is, number one, please avoid downloading any of the files while we're having this kōrero, because it will interfere with your experience. It's very large downloads, and it will mean that you won't be able to see the wānanga just as easily. So first thing, I'm just going to make a new tab. Thing to take a note of, there's only one thing to write down. What I've done is I've used a domain, whenua.com, to make it easy for you to go and find this information for accessing later. So feel free to go and have a look at whenua.com if you're on a laptop, but just keep in mind that when you're viewing this video currently today, any of these downloads are quite large and they will interfere with your experience. So taihoa on the big downloads. So this is a site I've been using for a few tools that we've been collecting and making apart during the wānanga series. What I've done is I put everything together here for you in a easy to find. So you go whenua.com and then click on this link just here. And this is a wee story map that has got all the links and all the data. Just a reminder, if you can avoid downloading during the webinar, that will allow you to be able to keep up because downloading this much data might slow down your video. So what have we got here? Everything on here is all you need, the software, the data, and the project, that you can start doing GIS at home today for free. First thing we're going to do is we're going to download and install QGIS Desktop from qgis.org. There are a couple of other apps as well. There is ArcGIS Earth, there's Google Earth, that you can use this data that we've compiled at the same time for the same purpose. But the thing with QGIS is it works, it's free, and you can run it on Windows, or I know many of you have got Mac, Apple Mac as well. It'll run on either of those. Let's have a look at the instructions here. The first thing is to go to qgis.org and download QGIS and install it. And through the magic of TV, we're going to make out as if we're doing them, but we don't want to sit around for half an hour while it does its thing. So we'll skip through a couple of those. We're going to download a GIS package. So this is a data file and a project file that you'll be able to open. And I'm going to show you how to put it into a place on your laptop or your computer that you can find it and access it again and again. We're going to have a look at how to, whoop, just broke that, shouldn't have broken. We're going to look at how to make the data look good, some basic actions, renaming, labeling, and I'm also just scrolling down here to show you a list of the data sets that are in this package. So there are probably around 50 or so, but there's an additional 50 as well. So number one, we're going to go to qgis.org QGIS.org. And we're going to go download. Skip and go to download for now. And the one that I've been using is this one here, long-term version for Windows 3.4. If you click onto Mac, it'll show you a different screen, but I'm not on Mac, so it won't show me, I don't think. So I click on there, and you can see there's the link, and it's starting to download. So I'm just going to cancel that. Hopefully. Okay, so we're going to pretend that that's just downloaded, and I'm just going to move that out of the way. And I'm also going to go, while we're there, I'm going to go down and download this one. So I'm going to click that. It's going to start downloading. It's a 1.7 gigabyte file. That is a zip file, and we're going to have to uncompress it. There's a second file for once you've had a play with the first one. The second one there is a bigger data set. That one is about 6 gigabytes. So just be aware of what you're downloading on. If it's on your phone data, that's quite a lot of data. If you're on Wi-Fi, work Wi-Fi or other free Wi-Fi, might be better off using it there. So once you've downloaded those couple of files, then what you want to look for is Windows File Explorer. And the way I find that is I go Windows plus E. And then I go to Downloads. And here is my QGIS download, that first one. And here is the 1.7 gig project data zip. Sorry, there it is. And there's the data. So 1, 2, 3 files, and that's everything you need to be able to do some GIS this weekend. So to install QGIS, just double click that, it'll pop up. The one you want to look for is 3.4 and then any version after 3.4. I've got 3.40.10. It's one of the latest ones. And then you just go next, 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 all the way through. Let's pretend that's gone all the way through. I'm just going to go cancel, finish. Woohoo, QGIS is installed. So now I'm going to come over to my start button and go QGIS desktop. And just wait a moment or two for that to open. And here we go, here's QGIS. So this is free desktop software, does everything you can think of on your local desktop. So what we need now is we need some data. So we'll come back to how to use that QGIS. So I'm just going to close it for now. Because before we do the next step, now we've got to get our data, unzip it, and put it somewhere that's not our downloads folder. So here is that file that I downloaded, the zip file. And what I've also done is I have expanded it, I've unzipped it. So what I've done is I've gone right click, and then I've gone extract all. And I've said, yep, that's fine, just extract all to there. And I've gone extract. And then it's shown me the files. And here are those files. There's two, there's only two. There's one very large one, 3.4 gigabytes, and a fairly small QGIS project file. So those are the two that I need to start with. Now I could just open that and begin using it, but it's going to be sitting in my downloads folder. And time to time I get a lot of clutter in my downloads folder, so I don't want to necessarily put it there. You could put it in your My Documents, you can move it anywhere you like. It has what's called relevant, sorry, I'm trying to think of the word, relative file path. So it doesn't matter where you move these two files, as long as they're together, the project will open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Control X to copy them, or Control C, Control X, either. Up the top here, I'm going to go C, semicolon, backslash, because I'm going to put this on my C drive. If I go New Folder, I'm going to call this underscore GIS. And then when I refresh, got to refresh here, it's going to sort it to the top of my drive most of the time. I double click into it, and then I'm going to go paste. Those two files are going to turn up, and they're in my GIS folder. So just to recap, I've got a GIS folder on my C drive. Click into it, and I've got those two files there. Now all I have to do is double click this file. I've got QGIS installed, and there's my data. So when I double click it, it's going to open up. And I'll just minimize that for now. Okay. You can see down the bottom there, it's loading up a whole lot of data. And all of this data that you're going to see is on the local PC. There's only one type of data that I'm not going to download, and that's this aerial photography, because the files there are very, very large. They're more than 10 or 20 gigabytes for each of those types of files. So what I've got here, if I just rearrange my screen here, I've got an aerial imagery base map. I've got a whole bunch of data here that I'm going to share that is in that I'm going to step you through. What I can do is I can turn the transparency up and down, because it's sometimes nice to have that shading there. Let's turn on some data sets. Place names and cultural features. So I've got tangata whenua place names. We zoom in a bit. Some of these layers, because they're quite large, what I've done is set some display scales. Let's see, that should be turning on by now. I can see the dots, but not the place names. Let me just see. Show labels on. There we go. Just took a moment or two. So this is running, apart from this, all of these data sets here are on the local hard drive. And keep in mind that this needed about 4 gigabytes to open. So we've got all these data sets on the computer, so you can use them all offline without internet. But what I am using is the internet to download the LINS aerial base map. Let's have a look and see what other data sets we've got in here. Māori land blocks. Turn those on. Some admin boundaries. Say I want to have EZ. Turn that one on. Marine biodiversity. I'm going to leave that one off for now. Land cover and soils. There's a collection of data in there. Got some social education service data, family services directory, some schools, the census, deprivation from Stats NZ. Let's see what else we got here. Some height points. So maybe I'm interested in adding on where the awa and the roto are. So I've been able to turn those on there. And you can see my map is getting a little bit messy now. It's got a lot of data that's drawing locally. And also I could turn on, what else we got here? Some height points. These are from the topographic maps. And now you can see the map really becomes hard to use. So I'm just going to turn off maybe the river, the awa, just for now. And let's have a look here. We've got some geology and hazard data. Maybe I'm interested in where the faults are in my rohe. So I can turn that on, and I know there are lots, so this way. In the Rotorua. And so those red lines you can see there are now showing me those fault lines. Cadastral state lands. Maybe I want to know where all the Crown land is as well, so I can turn that on. And that's coming up there. I'm going to turn that off because you can see my map becoming quite messy. Or I've also got a whole collection of data here from Department of Conservation and other sources. Let's say I wanted to know where the dockland was. So I can turn that on and off. And I can come down here, and I've also got some other base maps. So let's say I didn't want to use aerial photography and I wanted maybe a topographic map to be able to help me identify things perhaps a little easier. A couple of other layers here from Toiti to Whenua lens. We've got scanned aerial imagery as well. So there's some imagery before 1990 and imagery after 1990, and that's for the whole country. There's also a couple of examples here from the Base Maps lens site. Wairoa flood. If we go over to Wairoa, we'll be able to see that. I might be able to right click and zoom to. Zoom to layer. So this is very detailed imagery. So all of these base maps, these are the only data sets that are not on my computer. And you can download them if you want to for a small area. And then you can use it completely without internet at all. But this imagery was taken about not long after the floods. What date was it? There'd be a date there, 2024. Or there's also Kaikoura earthquake. Zoom to that one. Zoom to layer. So here's current imagery, and this is historical imagery. I can zoom in further. We can turn that on and off. Sorry, it's going a bit slow here with the internet. But you can see the other data sets I've already drawn because they're on my local computer. So I'm just going to turn that one off. Turn those off. Make sure they're all off there. Yep. Zoom out a bit. And let's just pick a random spot. Where should we go? Oh, we'll go up north. Okay, it's telling me network timeout for lens base maps, but that's okay because we've got lots of data locally. Okay, I'm just going to check in on the Pātai. See if I can get that chat to come up. Main chat. Okay, so a couple of Pātai in there about what it does and what it doesn't show. So what this is this is data that is on your local computer, nowhere else. So a couple of questions there. Also, GIS, a geographic information system. It's basically a tool that you can use to do mapping with. Similar, but slightly better than Google Earth. So just a couple of questions there about the link. So matawhenua.com is the shortcut to get access to the page, and it's the first item in that link. Okay. Let's see. Historical data, land blocks around 1860s forward, unfortunately not. So how often does the data update? In this case, it doesn't, because we've downloaded it onto our computer. So this is a 2025 data set, everything out of the box. Probably next year, we might, if all goes well, we'll do an update and do a new recut. But that is something just to keep in mind as well. By downloading everything and having it locally, it doesn't update at all. You have to manually download and update things. So let me show you a few more of these layers, and then I'll show you how we can get more detail, and then also where all of this data came from so that you can see how to get it for yourself. Let's have a look. Should we go near Whangarei? So you can see there's an issue with the internet. It's just not downloading that base map at the moment, but I'll see if I can maybe turn it on and off. Maybe it will There we go. Just turn it on and off. And that little blue box there tells me it's live streaming that imagery. So if we have a look at downtown, zoom in a bit more, you can see all the data is drawn because it's on this computer, but the aerial imagery is just taking its time. Just close that, and maybe we'll just try and turn it off and on. Look at that. Works a charm. Well, mostly. There we go. It's on and off now. Okay. So let's see, what other data do we have? Let's imagine this is our area of interest, and this applies to the whole motu. We got marae. So we can see there's a marae. This little, I've used the star here. It's very simple base symbology. You can go ahead and change any of this. If I click onto, oops, let me just see. Click there. And then I can click here, on this little button here, and then select it like that. It gives me all of the details about that marae. But keep in mind, this is local data, so it's a cut in time. It's not going to update. There's also some other layers there, Lynn's PowerPoints, which are from the topographic maps. There's some historic site points as well. Now, before we go too far, I'm just going to point out where you can find more information about all of these layers. So hopefully you didn't have many plans for the weekend, because this is going to be good fun if you've not done this before. If you go to Whenua, MATA, matawhenua.com, it will pass you through to this gallery. And here is that story, Whenua Hapū GIS mapping. And in here is everything we're talking about today. There's install and download the files that you need. And then what I'm going to do is click through to this one, Whenua GIS Layers dataset. And this provides you with a brief description of all those datasets, where they came from, and some suggestions for what they might be useful for. So you can see each of those ones in the QGIS project are described in some detail here, and a link through to where the data source is. And there's heaps. Okay. So let's have a look at what other data sets do we have here of interest. So we've got, I'm just going to turn, no, that's probably okay. Let's go to Ngā Whenua Rahui, protected areas. And if there's any of those, there's a couple down there I can see. We can look at QE2 covenants. There's some of those, just highlighting in pink just there. And the same thing we can do with that tool just there, the selection. If we click like that, the details will come up over here. May need to click there first, the layer, and then click on there. And here's the details for that feature. Te Arawhiti, Takatoa Moana Crown engagement areas. So let's zoom out a bit and maybe see if that will draw. There we go. We can click on those. Our area of interest might be over here, for example, and the details will come up in here. There we go. Quite a large area, that one. I think because I'm sharing the screen, the internet is a bit slow as well. Okay. You can see it's pulled up all of those areas, and as I click on one, it'll highlight the corresponding polygon or area over here. So this one here, if I expand that. So this is a copy of the data from Te Arawhiti, from the Takatoa Moana Crown engagement areas. There's also, just turn that one off. So we zoom out. I might even might just turn off that base imagery. So we're just going a bit slow. That is the other thing, is it's a local computer. So this computer here, probably maybe 7 years old now, so it's not the fastest, but you'll get there eventually. So pretty much any computer that will run Windows or Windows 10 or Windows 11 will work. Now let me see if I press some buttons here, press escape. Now what I'm doing with my mouse is I've just pressed the scroll as a button to get the middle button, and then I'm just pressing pan like this. What was I going to look at there? Just to refresh the picture. Let's say, because we're going next to Aotearoa. So we can zoom down here and we can see the extent of this polygon. You can see there's a lot of data on screen, so I'm getting confused of what I'm looking at here. So I just come down and I turn some off. Maybe I just turn that group off. Maybe I turn that group off. Maybe I want to keep the Māori tangata whenua place names layer and the land blocks. And now that it looks like it's behaving a bit better, maybe I'll turn that aerial imagery back on and it will download new imagery for that area. Let's have a look around Murupara. And there is also some basic health data sets in here. Let's have a look at family services. If I was interested in what services are available in my rohe, Ministry of Education schools. And also then, if I wanted to know a little bit about the demographics of, say, from the census from 2023, if I turn this layer on, it's going to show me the deciles of deprivation. So essentially, the more red that the area is, the more start again. Deciles of deprivation take the whole population and they carve it up into 10 deciles. And there are numerous factors that are based on census variables, like have access to a car, I think, mold in the house, things like this. I'll find out more details for you if you're interested, but you can, if you just Google for NZ Deprivation Index, it'll describe for you. But I was looking at around Gisborne City. We go out, we have a look here, because I was kind of surprised here at the less deprived areas here and the higher deprived areas here. And so what this is showing you is that census overlay with family services here, Ministry of Education schools. I'll turn those couple off. You'll see what I mean there. And just keep in mind, this is just some starter GIS data. I'll show you where to find more as well. Let's see what else we got in here. If I was interested in biodiversity information, there's some here, just a starter kit, basic set of some data points that describes survey results. If I select a couple of layers, a couple of items there, let's see. That'll come up with that observation and all the information that's in that data set. It's kind of like every point or every line or every area has a row in a spreadsheet. And what we're looking at here is that row in the spreadsheet. If you turn it sideways and imagine that each of these is a header or the heading, and then here is the row for that one that we've selected. If I just go for one, there's many under there. Each cell is represented just here, just for that piece. There are many hundreds, thousands of items. If I zoom out a bit, turn some stuff off. Let's see. Let's turn off. catch is there's quite a lot of data here, so just spotting the layer is sometimes a challenge. Social and education. You can see there I've grouped up some layers. That was what I was missing. So here you're looking at various layers of data. On the computer is Māori land. You can see the Aotearoa wera. There's also the ocean biodiversity information. All of that is on the local computer, and what it's doing is it's pulling down that base map as we zoom and pan around. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just pause there with this data and show you how to go and find additional data. So let's just turn some of those off, because what you want to do is aim for having only the data that you need visible at any particular time, because there's mathematics involved of how hard your computer can work and what it can show you and how much data it's having to pull off the hard drive and display on the screen. So if you're not using a data set, just turn it off in this case. Let's have a look at this one just while we're there. You can see this data set is all of the motu. Hunting areas, rec hunting areas. There's also some pesticides. So this is directly from the DOC website in the past, probably week before last. Marine reserves, mammal sanctuaries, covenant areas, and there's others there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just show you where this data came from and what's in part 2 of that data pack. So let's just minimize that for a moment. Bring up our browser, go here, we'll go data, take off caps, .lins.gvt.nz. So this is the LINS data service, and this is where a lot of these data sets can be found and downloaded. Now, what we're doing today is quite different to what we usually do in these wānanga, where usually we will try and use as many data sets from live stream as possible. In this case, we're wanting to bring them down onto our laptop and use them offline without internet. So what you can do is you'll need to log in, just create what's called a coordinates login, and you can find a data set like property titles or primary parcels. Let's have a look at this one. So this is every property for every parcel, sorry. There's also property. Take that off, put property on. So our whare is down here in Lower Hutt. Keep zooming in. And it's somewhere down here, one of these items here. So if I click on that, it tells me the title number, or what is it telling me here? Valuation reference, legal description, and some other things. So this is all public record, public information. You can access this, edit, and download for free. To save you having to do a lot of that, what I've done is I've gone through and I've collected up a series of layers from Tautu Te Whenua, from MFE, from Manaki Whenua, from GNS, Stats NZ, Te Arawhiti, Te Punikokiri, and various others, and I've put them together into that second package. So this is also just buyer beware that these are not all of the data sets. These are just the ones I've collected up, thinking, okay, if I'm doing a Hapū GIS project, then this is possibly something that's going to be of interest to me. And that's what's in that second data set. But taiho on downloading it, let me show you what's in it before you download it. So to keep things very, very simple, what I've just done is I've just packaged up exactly what I downloaded. So here is that zip file. And remember, it's 6 gigabytes, so it will take a while. And also, when you extract it, when you go right-click, extract, it's going to expand out to about 12 gigabytes. So what that means is you're going to need a lot of free space on your hard drive. So that means go through your recycle bin, your My Documents, remove any videos or other, you're going to need a bit of storage space. Doesn't have to be a new computer. Most computers will have something like a couple of 100 gigs in the hard drive. So you should be able to find some things, uninstall a couple of games, things like that. But you can see this is 12.6 gigabytes when it is extracted. And in here, there are a whole series of files, or folders rather, and each folder comes from Tōtete Whenua, Stats NZ, Manaki Whenua. You can see some indications of the names, but this is exactly as the data is downloaded without any changes, without any adjustments. If we go into protected areas, there's the data set, and here is a file that gives you the metadata or the data about the data. Bit hard to read there. Let's see what's in this one. Here we go. So you can read the data, the information about the data in here. Here's a tricky step. What I want to do is I want to take this data set that I've downloaded, expanded it, extracted it. Now I want to put it somewhere permanently outside of my downloads folder, because my downloads folder will get filled up with stuff. So what I'm going to do is go back up to downloads. Here is the file I downloaded. Here is the folder. Click on that. Here is the folder that I unzipped it to. And there is the folder that it's created. And in that folder are all those files. So I'm just going to go back up one. So that's the one I'm after. And I'm going to go Control X. And now I'm going to come up here and go to C_GIS. So I'm missing a C:\\. And I'm back to my permanent GIS home. And then I'm going to go paste. And my data is now moved out of my downloads and into there. Okay, so what I've done is I've downloaded the data, extracted the data from zip, moved it into my permanent GIS mapping home, C_GIS. Now I come back to QGIS, and just going to pause there for a moment, just checking on the chat. Okay. And I'll come back to those partai in just a few minutes. What I wanted to do is show you, what we've just done is that data folder. You could go to Lynn's data service, you could go to Data Finder Stats, and in that Mata Whenua page, right at the bottom is a link to some of those places as well. When you download those, have a look in the guidance there. What I've suggested, and this is just a suggestion, is my personal choice, is to use the coordinate system WGS 84, which is also lat long, latitude, longitude, because most people can understand that concept. Then we are compatible with Google Maps, Google Earth, and other international map things like Microsoft Office as well. There is a whole different coordinate system, which is just for New Zealand, called NZTM, or New Zealand Transverse Mercator. We haven't, I haven't used that in this session because it adds a bit more involved, but WGS 84 lat long makes it a bit easier for this kind of general starter kit. How do we access that data? Enough waffling. We come over here to local disk, and then you can see that GIS folder that we've created. So this is part of my preference of putting it on my C drive. You could also do this on a portable hard drive, but it'll go a bit slower. When I double click that, you can see here, this is on this hard drive, nowhere else. I could pull the internet and it would still work. Double click into data, and here are all those folders of data sets. let's say we wanted to, let's pick an area. We'll go down Tauranga this time, or where I used to go in the weekend sometime, around Bowentown. And you can see there it's downloading the imagery. Everything else is drawn that I've got turned on. But what I want to put here is I want to put primary parcels or property boundaries. Let's go for property boundaries, because you can have multiple parcels that make up a property. Property boundaries, click that, and here it's drawn on my computer. So if we come back to Lynn's data service, here is that data set. I've added it to the page. I can go export. In the settings, there's two things. You want a GeoPackage or JPKG. That's the data format. And you want WGS84. I'll show you. I think I'll have to log in, so I won't do that part. But I think many of you will be able to figure that part out. But remember those two settings, WGS84 and GeoPackage. Sometimes called SQLite. Download into your downloads folder, move it over into your GIS underscore GIS folder, and then just double click it and you can add it into your map. So the last thing I want to show you is how to change this from orange to something that's more useful. And this will happen for, if I click on any of these other, let's say, data sets here, roads, exactly the same. JPKG, GeoPackage, that's the data set. Double click it, it'll draw on there. There's a little line just appeared here. Let's zoom in, you can see there are two new data sets there that, as part of that big data package that I pre-prepared for you, they've just come straight from Lynn's in this case. And I'm going to go, now that's the data view. If I double click it again, it's just going to keep adding more. So I've got to keep that in mind. Come back up here, hide that. So there's my data browser. Here's my layers. And you can see this one here in bold. That's the orange one. And I can turn the road one on and off. I'll just turn the road off now. Property boundaries, what I typically do, I'm still a QGIS newbie. Double click that. And here I go, simple fill. And this is where I can change the symbols and the labels. You see, I think those are the two that I mostly use. Symbol, labels, sometimes masks. There's also 3D view. But if you're doing a lot of 3D, Google Earth sometimes is a better option. And in that Mapi Whenua page is a description of how to export just the data you need into a Google Earth format. And I should say this will also work exactly the same in other tools like ArcGIS or ArcGIS Earth. So ArcGIS Earth is another free viewer, not quite as powerful as QGIS, which is a desktop 2D mapping primarily. It does have a little bit of 3D. ArcGIS Earth, which is in that Mapi Whenua page, is natively 3D. And it will use the same data from the same sources, but it doesn't allow you to do quite as many different cool full function desktop things. So we haven't focused on that today. So you can see I added a bit of transparency there, just on this one here. Opacity is another word for transparency. If I turn that up again, you'll see why. Go apply, turn that down, apply. And maybe I want to have the labels on there. For some reason, there's a lot of labels here, and this is a big data set. There are about 2 million parcels for all of Aotearoa. Turn on labels, single labels, and then go apply and see what happens. Some random numbers. So I go, okay, what's that labeling? Title number. I can choose any of these fields here to have labels appear. Maybe I'm looking at a part of the whenua and I want to know that the legal description. Here's a real neat trick, is I don't want that to be viewing 2 million files when I zoom out a bit. I don't want to be looking at 2 million labels. So I go here and I go rendering and I go scale dependent visibility and I just click this one for the current, and it tells me I'm at 1 to 2,820. There we are there. So if I said, okay, let's zoom out a little bit and make that 5,000. What that means is when I zoom out a fraction, and I've just gone to 1 to 5,640, Telford, what did I put it as? I've done something wrong here. Aroha mai. Let's go in there and have a look. I put an extra 1 in there, 15,000. Okay. So now if we zoom out one more, we're at 1 to 22,000, the labels are turned off, which is great. And what I might also want to do is have this data set not draw when I'm above a certain scale. Although this computer is reasonably good, I can keep going and it's drawing all of the parcels for all of the motu. Okay, I'm going to pause there and just check in on the chat and what we've done. matawhenua.com, which is a shortcut. We've downloaded QGIS. We've installed it on our desktop, just all the defaults. We created a new folder called _GIS. We've moved those couple of sample files, that's these ones here and there. Remember, there's just the 2 files. Let's have a look at them again. There they are, 1, 2. Then we opened in QGIS. Then we went and got that bigger data file, the 6 gigabyte one, and extracted it, opened it, moved that there as well. And then we can start adding those into our map as we like. Just to keep the size of, the reason I didn't put those in there is just to keep the size of that initial download reasonable at 3.5 gigs, or 1.7 gigs, I think it is, zipped. In there is now 12 gigabytes of data. So you've got access to pretty much most data sets that are available for you to download, and none of them cost. You don't have to pay for these. They don't get updated unless you do it manually in that same method. But they're on your desktop. No one else can access it. You're not putting any data anywhere. It's all on your desktop. The only thing we're doing is using the internet to save us from downloading that imagery data set, which you can also do, but personally, I wouldn't recommend. It's much easier to use that as a streaming service. But if you wanted to go and work in an area where there was no internet, you could download from Lynn's data service a small area that's of interest to you, and you can get it in full detail. So that's our session for now. We're going to do the partai in just a moment. Next session next month, we'll recap some of this. We'll have some improvements in this map for you based on your partai. We'll also be showing you how to create a new layer on your hard drive to start capturing your own information. If you wanted to do sites of significance, create a new layer of just your whenua land blocks, crop out some data, create new layers, package it up, give it to someone else for use on their desktop. Those are the things we'll be coming to next month.